Hi, guys. Welcome back to the Funny Thing Is podcast. I'm your host, Nicole Birch, where every week I bring you a guest who shares a life-changing event, the medicine they took to get better, and the funniest lesson they learned along the way. Today is no exception. I'm introducing my really good friend, Paul Chirico, who's a fantastic actor in Los Angeles. Give him a round of applause.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
How are you?
I'm all right. It's a hot day out.
It's very hot. I know. We know each other from the Groundlings, where I was a performer and you're the stage manager.
Yeah.
Which means that during sketches, you would see me naked a lot because I'd have to do quick changes. And that's how it works, folks.
Or sketches where you were just naked.
Or sketches where I was just naked during the sketch. You know, whatever. So we know each other.
Yeah.
Pretty well.
I mean, we're all performers. I feel like if you can't be naked in front of a crowd of people, who can you be naked in front of?
Yeah,
you know?
That's where you want to start. In front of an audience. 99 people. That's where I want to be naked. Not in a dark room with a loved one. Not a loved one. That sounded like a family member. Okay. This is starting off terribly.
It's great.
Terribly. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and start. I'm going to ask the question. So what is an event that happened to you that changed everything?
You ready for this?
I'm ready. I don't even know what it is. This is the one where I don't know what it is. I'm excited.
Therapy.
Therapy?
Therapy changed everything.
What did you need therapy for?
All right. I ended up finding myself in a chain. I wouldn't say a chain. I kept finding myself in relationships with very abusive relationships.
Okay.
Let's just say that.
Okay.
Physically,
Mentally, verbally.
mental,
Right.
all of that stuff.
Right.
And it wasn't until the last situation that I ended up in was especially traumatic, that I realized, wow, I need to talk to somebody just about the experiences that I had. Right.
With that specific relationship?
Yeah.
Okay. Got it.
Right. And so I ended up finding a very wonderful person, and shared basically what my experiences were. And one of the keys that came up was wondering, why did I stay?
Ooh. Okay.
Why?
How long was your last relationship?
That relationship was probably 8 months.
Okay. But you knew it was like bad pretty early on. You just stayed.
I mean, like 2 weeks in, I got kicked in the face.
Oof.
And then I was like, oh, it's fine. She's fine. She's just a girl. I can help you.
Oh, no.
Let me save you. Where did that come from?
Yeah.
Where did all of that come from? And I started doing some digging into my past and realized that when I was 15 years old, well, let's start here. When I was 14, up until I was 14, I had a really, really, really strong relationship with my father. As in, we were ranchers. You know, he taught me how to fly fish, ride horses, train dogs.
Because you're from Montana.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Taught me how to hunt, how to field dress an elk, you know? It's like it's a very intimate relationship to have.
Of course.
With a man, you know, just out doing that sort of stuff, which I'll always value. But around 14 years old, he sort of disappeared from home life. He was never around for dinner, which was always mandatory. Everybody had to be around for family dinner.
Right.
Stopped coming to sports events that I had.
Were your parents still married?
Yes, at that time.
Okay.
He stopped showing up to my baseball games.
Weird.
Just gone. And then I find out, actually, I got a phone call. Well, my mom got a phone call from this guy. And he says, hey, is your mom around? No. Can I take a message? Tell your mom that her husband is shacking up with my wife. And he hangs up. So I'm like, maybe I was about 15 at the time. Just, what do I do with that?
Right.
You know, because on one hand, you're just like, I'm 15, I don't care.
Right.
On another hand, you're like,
that's where he's been going? Yeah.
So I told my mom that. And she sort of, what's the word? I don't think she had a very good time with any of this.
Right.
And obviously, what was she going to do? Like, oh, thank God. So my father completely denied all of it. But at the same time, during that year when I would see him, he became extremely short, violent, in a way that went past typical like discipline. For example, one time we were out, I think, branding cows, and there was, I think, like one of the cows, I think it was a calf, kicked me. And if you've ever been kicked by a calf, it really hurts.
Oh, I'd imagine.
They have sharp little hooves.
Yeah.
And I started crying, and I climbed out of the pen, and he got really pissed off about that. I was like, "You get your ass back in there and you push those cows." I was like, "Just give me a second." It turned into a fist fight between me and my father.
Oh my.
Where he was, and I was, 15, out on the farm,
fighting a grown man.
Or fighting a grown man. I just remember getting hit with this like cow pushing thing, and basically just leaving and walking home. And then another time I got run over. He got angry about something that I did out on the farm. This is I don't know. I don't even remember what it was, but he ran me over with a 4-wheeler. And that was one of the parts of it that I think it was so out of character for him that this is the part of it that's so messed up, is that he could never admit it. Right? So,
like, he could never admit his temper?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, admit that. Right? So then, turns out he was shacking up with whomever, this person. He left. And it was the weirdest thing because he worked on the ranch. But I never saw him. And I lived on the ranch after that.
That's so weird.
And he would, in a way, I almost feel like he couldn't face me after that, because I think that despite what was going on with him and my mother,
right,
I think that when you're a man explaining life to your soon-to-be man, and then you go against everything that
you've instilled.
It's hard to face the fact of what that was.
Did he have a temper before?
Not as much.
Not as much. He had like fire, but it wasn't.
Yeah, he would always yell.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we've all, maybe this is weird to say, but had a backhand from your dad at some point.
Some version of it. Yeah.
Some version of, but after that, he would try to set up. I remember he asked me if I would go out and help him on the farm one day. I was like, okay, yeah, I'll do that. Got all dressed up, went out there, and he basically brought his girlfriend with him. It was like 6 months afterwards.
Okay.
It was almost like he forgot that I don't know what he was planning to do. I have no idea. But I went up to him. I was like, what is this?
Yeah.
I remember, I think I threw a hay bale at her. Literally. I was like yelling shit. I was like, so this is what you do, Dad? You bring your whore? I was like 15 years old.
Yeah.
Throwing a fit out on the farm.
Of course.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's the equivalent, like that's the country equivalent of throwing a cup of coffee. You're like, I'm going to hit her with a hay bale. She's going to know I mean business.
Yeah. Yeah. So then ever since then, this is the part of it that really bothers you, that I really dealt with, was the fact that because he couldn't deal with what it was that he had with me to speak about it, he wouldn't. That's when the gaslighting began. And basically I would try to say, you don't remember. Well, no, the one part of it that aggravated me the most, that really ruined our relationship, he and I, like out on the porch of our old country house, and he said, whatever it is that your mother made you think that I did, I'm sorry. And I looked at him and I was like, you're a piece of shit.
Yeah.
What you think, what my mother made me think that you did.
Yeah.
Then this is the best part. For years after that, family members would say, he didn't do that. Your mother made you think that he did that. By other family members.
Yikes.
And that made me start to question if you don't know that sort of thing.
Right.
How are you supposed to know? What?
Yeah.
What's
your foundation? Yeah.
Yeah.
Now it's like shaky. Yeah. I have a similar experience. Like my dad is now married to a woman that, like, it depends on whose side you're listening to, right? Like my mom's like, your dad cheated on me when we were married. Would we have stayed together despite it? Probably not. So she doesn't hold him accountable for the divorce, but she was like, he was definitely cheating. Now he's married to this stepmom that I have to this day. And that was when I was like 2.5. But you get people that even now, like 38 years later, that are like, well, I don't know if it was actually an affair until like your mom had moved out. Or I was like, dude, I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit. Do I think it was probably an affair? Yeah, I absolutely, because I know the character of the people involved. Do I care? Nope. Don't give a shit. Because you have to move, like, but it's the gaslighting. It's the when my dad was like, well, no, I would have never let that happen beforehand. And I'm like, yeah, you would have. It was the 80s. You guys were probably hopped up on coke. Like,
you had a mustache. Of course you did.
You look like a porn star with your mustache. Of course you did. You definitely banged one out with your person who was like your secretary. You know, I'm like, of course you did. Yeah. Wasn't a secretary. She worked like 2 levels below him. But I was like, yeah. Like, she's like, oh, your dad was my boss's boss. And I'm like, oh, okay. And plus the stories she would tell me where she would be like, oh, there was this one time where we were like dancing on the dance floor and blah, blah, blah. And she like told me what year it was. And I was like, well, I would have been 1 and my parents didn't get divorced till I was 2.5. So I'm just doing math here. Like, what are we talking about? But it is when you're being gaslit as a kid. First of all, I don't think any kid, I was 6 when I found out he cheated. I don't think any kid should know that. I don't think any kid, I don't think the fact that you got a phone call from her husband, gross. Yeah. That's adult shit you shouldn't be involved in. I also think it's interesting that your dad, I'm sure it's coming from like shame and guilt and all that stuff, but like that he turned to like dissociating from you and violence, which is I don't know, such a dude way to do it, I guess. I don't know. That's, women, I guess we just become like cold and distant, and men are like, I'm going to hit something, or I don't know.
Yeah. Maybe was just his way of. Now you have to understand. My dad was the Marlboro man.
Yeah. I bet
he was like an old Marine. Mm-hmm. An entire arsenal of guns in the closet.
Right.
That's just kind of how I grew up around there. So it was just.
Are you the only child?
No, I'm the youngest of 6. Yeah, but then interestingly, the first 3 were from a different marriage, and then.
On your mom's side or your dad?
My dad's side.
Okay.
So he had 3 kids, moved to Montana.
Had you 3?
Had 3 more.
Okay.
So the other interesting part the residual effect of that was that I don't put up with people lying to me, especially when I know that they're lying.
Yeah.
It just pisses me off.
Right. So that's what you carry with you now. You're like sensitive to it. Yeah.
It sets me off, especially because it's like a disrespect thing where it's like, say somebody does something and then they look at you and say, I never did that. What? Either
how little you must think of me.
That I would believe you. Exactly. Mm-hmm. But the other residual effect of this was that my mother at the time, from when I was 15 to 18, when I left for college, she had a really, really, really difficult time going through this. Mm-hmm. Now, my family in general, mental health is taboo.
Right. That's Montana, of course.
I mean, if you talk to a therapist, you're a crazy person.
Right.
That's their attitude towards
that still exists a lot, I think, in those states, the rancher states.
Which really needs to end. Like, it's like everybody at a dentist's office, they have a hole in their teeth, but Like the people with no teeth, they're like, I'm fine. I don't need a dentist.
Yeah, that's what it is.
I'm good. But so from that time from 15 to 18, I ended up sort of in a way taking care of my mother.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where I realized as I was talking with my therapist about this, that because I was in a situation with my mother who was not doing well. She was not abusive or aggressive with me, but she was carrying around a lot of, at the time, just anger at everything.
Right.
So because I was stuck with her, I thought it became normal for me to be around a reactive person.
Ooh, okay. Mm-hmm.
And that wasn't, so in my future relationships, I realized that that's not a red flag. That's just how people communicate.
Right.
That's normal. I'll take care of you.
Oh, God. Yeah.
And so it took a very, very, very long time to actually realize what that habit was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's interesting because you said like that you were in, romantic relationships with volatile at some type of level. So it's combining, and that you could take care of them. So you're combining both your mom and your dad.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Dang. I don't know how much.
Got there. Shit.
Yeah. So basically, I found myself being bored with having a relationship with a person that wasn't
normal. Yeah.
Wasn't normal.
I know.
And I'm looking specifically for somebody that's angry or abusive or, and they're always a very specific type.
Yeah.
Like it's just that tad bit of narcissism for some reason, like sets off my thing where I'm like, oh, she's hot.
Right. And I look back on relationships. So I've got my daddy issues. And so I would always find funny guys that were emotionally unavailable. So you've seen all of them. So I would always date emotionally unavailable and funny. And that part of it is interesting to me because if I looked back at the moment we met, because it's like people that get, like women that get abused by men. They'll leave one relationship, they'll go into another one, and they'll date somebody who also hits them, and they'll date another person and their dad hit them, and I'm like, how do you find these people? I've never found a guy that would raise his hand to me, but I found it's like there's something chemically inside of us. It's not like
that searches
for it and finds these fuckers out. Where it's like, and a lot of the guys I dated were the kind of guy you'd want to have a beer with. We're pretty nice guys, like on the surface, but we're not the guys you'd want to date. And I was like, that's my jam. And how I could search them out in a huge bar with 100 people. And I would find the one guy that's like, oh, I've got some health issues. I just got broken up with. I don't have a job. I'd be like, oh, let me fix you. Come home. I have a place for you to stay. You know what I mean?
Stay here.
You can stay here.
I'll take care of you.
But it's like, they didn't even lead. My thing is like, they didn't even lead with their red flags. But man, did I find them every single time. Anyway.
Or maybe we just allow them to treat us that way because we never put up the boundary.
Damn it.
You think? If there's any psychologists out there, psychiatrists.
Yeah. Actually, I think some of that is true because there are a couple of my exes that are like super nice guys and doing really well now. But I never put up that boundary. And then there's guys that are just douchebags. But yeah, I think it's both. I think it's a little bit of both. All right, so go ahead. So you realized that there was a pattern through therapy, through talk therapy.
Yeah. Basically, I was just explaining some of my life, and then he comes through and just says, do you find it interesting that you had this situation with your mom, and now you've ended up coming out of a relationship with somebody that kept on abusing you, and you never left? And I was like, well, no, that's not... I was just trying to help you. He's like, what? Do you find it interesting? Let me repeat this.
Oh, it's those aha moments.
Put it, and that right there was because that last relationship, what was that, 4, 5 years ago? It was actually a while now when I think back about it. In some way, I've healed from it to a point where I don't necessarily search out relationships anymore. Mm-hmm. I've got my own goals now and my own things, and I don't really give a shit what anybody thinks about what it is that I do.
Yeah.
And I find that anymore in LA, for example, it's hard if you're not chasing as much money as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And if you are not already at the pinnacle of whatever it is that you're doing,
right,
nobody's interested in you.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it seems like. And
Yeah.
so I'm
I
at
get
this
that
point
vibe.
where I'm like, I make enough money that I have the time to work on my scenes for my auditions and my acting class, and I have enough money to live, and that's what I want to do. I'm not trying to impress anybody.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to go find some trophy wife that I can impress with my money so that I can
Right.
entertain myself for the time being.
Right.
You know, and
Yeah.
I feel like so many guys do that, and it comes back from that thing where, I don't know if you've ever read any of those like pickup artist books.
Oh, I know about them. Yeah.
Okay, so it's almost like you kept finding yourself with these. I get what's the word I'm looking for.
Mine were a lot of narcissists, and they did a lot of negging.
Exactly that
Yeah.
nagging.
You actually
thing.
know one of the guys too. He would go like this. He goes, "I like your eyebrows, even though they're kind of thin."
Yeah.
And I was like, "What? Wait, that's like an insult and a compliment."
You like
and
him? Do you like him
do you
even
want to
though
go
they're
home with me? Like that's Now I get a whiff of that, and I'm like, "Kick rocks, dude." I'm not even continuing this conversation.
Well, it's like what's that Tate guy?
I was just gonna Andrew Tate. Yeah.
Right. It's so interesting because these guys say things to men that are like, take care of yourself, clean your room, work out, get really good at what you're doing.
Great. That's a good part. But
then also, women are supposed to be submissive to you because you're a leader and a man. And if they don't do what you want, then you're supposed to put them underneath your boot.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
That's not my attitude. That's these guys'
We're going to
attitude.
cut it. We're going to edit it so that's your attitude. I'm just kidding. Can you imagine?
And I look at that. I'm like, if you need acceptance from anybody
Mm-hmm.
to be a man, you're not.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you think that I need to have this harem of women every weekday in order to feel acceptance as a man,
Right.
you're not.
Right.
You know, I think at some point, like growing up where I grew up, I've heard a lot of people even to this day, they were like, oh, that guy's gay, talking about me because I'm really into the arts
Yeah.
and acting. But okay.
You're like, okay, but I'm not. But okay.
But no, but who cares?
Yeah.
Like I'm almost like, oh, so what if I were?
Yeah.
That's the most negative thing in the world to you guys. You know why that's the most negative thing in the world to these people? It's because it insults their own masculinity.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Or their own sense of what it is that is
Means
a man,
to be masculine. Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, that's just chew tobacco and go shoot shit,
Yeah.
which is actually fun, but you know, that's not my entire personality. But yeah, so I got through this relationship and all this turmoil that happened. I went and found this therapist, and I was terribly, terribly depressed. As in, I don't think at that point I had, besides going to work, gotten out of bed to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I think before that relationship started, oh, this is going to kill you.
Okay.
I had like $100,000 in the bank.
Yeah, that kills me. Was that the part that was going to, that doesn't.
That kills you.
Mm-hmm.
And by the time it was done, guess how much I had?
No,
Guess how much is in my bank account as of today?
I don't know. How much?
When I was done with that, I used the last $8,000 to pay for therapy. Isn't that crazy?
So when you were dating this person, you had 100,000, and after a slew of events that we may or may not be able to talk about.
After a slew of events, me paying her rent, trying to cover all of my, and then the worst part of it was the year of 10 months of just sheer depression, where it's like, I need to go to work. I don't feel like it.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just lay here. I need to pay rent. I'll just pull out $1,000. You know, every time that money goes, it's fast, and LA is so expensive that you don't even realize. Now I look at it like, who cares? It's just money.
Right.
You know, I'll get more.
Right.
You know.
So how long were you doing therapy before you started to feel better? Talk therapy.
before I actually started to feel better was about 6 months.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I was taking like antidepressants. And anybody out there that's like, oh, that person's on medication, it's actually, I don't know if I would have been able to get through that without it. Right? Because suddenly I was able to actually get out of bed,
right,
and go do something. You know, we always have these attitudes of like, oh, it's mind over matter. But if you're physically drained,
and if there's like a chemical, like there was something, I had that when I was like 24, and I got on what's the one that starts with a K? Oh my God, no, Zoloft. Does not start with a K. Does not start with a K. Jesus. I was on Zoloft, and weirdly enough, my gynecologist prescribed it for me, which is, by the way, I don't recommend them prescribing antidepressants, because I was literally like, don't put me on anything that makes me gain weight. And it's the one that like really made me gain weight. I gained 20 pounds in about 3 weeks.
Oh.
And I was like, my diet isn't changed that much. I'm not like overeating, but what it did, whatever part of my brain that it turned on to get me motivated, it shut down my metabolism part.
Yeah, I've had.
And I was like, but calorie in, calorie out, I don't understand.
It changes all of that.
It just changes it. And I was like, that's insane. I was only on it for 2 weeks, but I was doing that thing where I was, before I got on Zoloft, I was literally waking up at 3 p.m., going to bartend at 4, coming home at 2 a.m., sleeping until like 1:30 the next day, and just doing it again. And if I didn't have to work, I would just sleep through the whole day. There was nothing wrong. I was in a happy relationship. I had a new puppy. Like everything was Tootsie. Everything was fine. But there was just something that was like chemically needed to be reset. So I'm like, if you need that, and people don't understand it, if they have never dealt with any type of like mental illness or mental issue.
Or let's be honest, just been able to look in the mirror and say, oh, maybe I have something I should deal with.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. So I'm all for that. So you were on that.
I was on that doing talk therapy, but also I'd always been curious in meditating.
Okay,
right?
Great. Yes.
So about 5 years before that, was that 5 years? No, it couldn't have been that long. Basically a little while ago. I don't know. One night I went out with some friends, and we went to this like Salvadorian bar, and I got wasted on real tequila. I'm talking like I went home and I had the craziest out of body experience.
Okay.
And I woke up the next day, like still wearing my clothes from the night before, like all sweaty, like, what was that?
Right.
What was that, man?
Yeah.
And so I started kind of researching into what did I just experience?
Right.
And it started to go into out of body experiences are created by brain hemisphere things that can happen with tequila. Relaxes the body enough for the brain to
take over. Yeah.
So I started doing some research on this. And one day I did this thing called Brain Sync. It was like, I found it online on YouTube.
Okay.
I think it was Brain Sync by Kelly Howell.
Okay.
It was just called Retrieve Your Destiny. So I put in my headphones. I laid down in my bed. And it was the first time that I ever did anything like that. And it's like binaural beats in each ear with like hypnosis added in with like,
yeah, this
like
is my jam.
The little voices coming in from each side that are like, you're going to be great. You know, like those sort of things popping
subliminals,
in. Subliminal messages. And I had the most crazy experience because up to that, the reason I moved to LA was to be an actor. Right? But it was like I would get auditions, but I couldn't get anything. And I basically, while I was doing this, listening to the journey that I was on in this binaural beat hypnosis, you're in a desert walking, following this like ghostly figure who's far off, you know, and I was just saying this little, like, I just want to work in this. I just want to be able to do this. And I got to this point in the hypnosis session where you like sit down in front of like a totem and the spirits or whatever in your mind, obviously,
Right.
the spirits are answering your prayers basically within this. And I went into, it was the craziest thing because I was so focused on it that it was actually happening. This whole like, now you're in a field with this, like I could see it all. And whoever this guide was, I could see it. But I sat down in front of the totem in my mind's eye, and I had this experience where the light got extremely bright and it started flashing all these crazy colors.
Okay.
Right. And then I don't remember much after that. It went on for a while. And I was like, did I just have a seizure? Like,
Yeah.
from
what was
this thing?
Yeah.
And I got up and it was 11:11 on my phone.
Get out. Okay.
Okay.
Ugh, all right.
And right after that, I get a phone call from my manager. Hey, you got an audition for Joe Dirt 2. It was like one of the first like auditions.
Ugh, okay.
Right?
All right.
And they wanted me to be Clem, which is Christopher Walken's character. And I was like jazzed up. I was like, from this thing, I'm like still in a fugue state or whatever. So I pick up the script and I'm like, they want me to be Christopher Walken playing Clem back in the 70s.
Okay.
So I looked, and it was so many pages. And instead of trying to like learn the scene or learn any of it,
Right.
I just thought, this is never going to happen. I'm going to go and just pretend to be Christopher Walken. So I called up a friend and I put on, I like worked on this for a day. I put way too much gel in my hair. I called up a friend, got some leather pants. And I got some alligator skin boots and I put on a leather jacket.
Yes.
And I walked into this audition at Paramount. And I was a little bit lost and I stuck my head into this room full of just dudes that kind of looked like me. And I was like, hello, is there anybody, is this the place for the audition?
Oh,
Is this where I sign in?
Oh
you
my
know?
God.
And everyone's just looking at me like I'm a fucking lunatic.
Yeah.
And they call me and they're like, Paul. I was like, oh yeah, that's me. And I walk in there and they're like, do you have any questions? I was like, no, let's just go through it a few times. And instead of doing it, you know how you're supposed to do it to the person?
The reader. Yeah.
The reader. I like looked at the camera and I was like, okay, here goes.
Just
Joe.
breaking all the rules. I love it.
Joe Dirt, you are a man. You know, it's just like going through the whole thing. I don't even know if I sound like it or not. I'm just pretending.
Oh, you're doing great.
I'm just pretending to be this guy. And they were losing their minds. And then I was like, sorry, I'm a little new at this. Am I supposed to be talking to you? What am I doing here?
Oh my, it's brilliant.
They were like the people auditioning it were losing their minds. And they did it once and they were like, that's all we need. Thanks. And I walked out of there going, what are they going to do? Kick me out of Hollywood?
Yeah.
So I was leaving. This was the next day after my out of body experience that I had. I'm leaving the place and I get a phone call. It's 11:11 from my manager. I'm not even off of Paramount Pictures yet. And he goes, hey, they want you to come back tomorrow to be like a callback. And they're like, no, it's for a different part. And so it's for a German bodybuilder on a show called Marry Me. And I read it and I look at it and it looks like this tough guy.
Yeah.
But for some reason in my mind, I was like, he's the nicest guy on the planet. He just looks scary. So
Right.
I like wear like some muscle clothes and like, I'm like the smallest guy at this place. I would show up there. Everybody looks like Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah.
And I can hear them in the room doing the lines like really tough guys.
Yeah. Oh,
Right?
oh, and you're just going
I went in there.
rogue.
I went in there and I'm supposed to be playing a drinking game.
Okay.
So I was like, what drinking game would he be playing? It was like the thumbs up. And then I'm like, but nobody explained him the game. So he's just giving everybody a thumbs up. And instead I was just like, I'm super happy to be here. You know? And I left. I got a phone call at 11:11 and I got the part. It was my first time getting like a SAG part.
Within 2 days of your out of body experience.
Yeah.
Insane.
Then the next week I filmed it, got another audition for General Hospital, left the audition for General Hospital, looked at, it was like one of those under 5 little part, not General Hospital, the Bold and Beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
It's like one of those little under 5 parts.
Yeah.
Left there again, 11:11, you got the part. And ever since that day, I don't know what the 11:11 thing is. Maybe my phone was just frozen on that somehow. But ever since that day, I've been chasing that dragon.
Yeah. You have to. Are you kidding me?
You have
At a certain point, you just start looking at your phone at 11:11 every time, making wishes.
One day, I left an audition for, it was like a voiceover thing in Beverly Hills or like somewhere like Santa Monica. And I walked out and I forgot where my car was. And so I was like walking down one of those side streets, like, where the hell did I put my car? I don't even remember. And I looked up in the street, like the address of the building that I was standing at was 11, or it was 111111. And for whatever reason, it looked like a swan got attacked by a coyote or something there, because there were white feathers strewn everywhere. And I was like, what the fuck is this? What is this?
Angel.
Right.
Angel feathers.
Somebody explained that to me. They were like, oh, you're being visited by an angel.
It's guardian, yeah.
And I'm like,
you tapped into something.
So
you opened up some portal, man.
Ever since that point, I started thinking that there's more to this, and that maybe there's a grand plan for all of this, and even all the experiences that I have in life are meant to be, and that I think you just have to be open to it. Right. So I started playing with all of this stuff, and those experiences can't talk. They happened way less. Right. It was like that really hard jump. I kept booking stuff after that. I give a lot of credit to Jack Plotnick, who
I was just going to bring him up, dude. Jack Plotnick is an acting coach. He's also a successful actor, but he's an acting coach who does it's like 5-minute. Right.
He basically just works on your psychology, and he's like, would you stop giving a shit so much about being good?
Oh, I loved it, because I always did really well in his class, and I always had to do it once.
You just do it like, he'd just sit you down for 5 minutes.
He'd give you a script, and like so many people were focused on the words, and I would just kind of memorize it and just sit in it and be in character and just really like have a conversation with somebody. That's his whole point. It's like, just be in the moment.
Yeah.
And also the big technique, which is like when your partner is talking to you, you shouldn't be looking down ready for your next line. You should be engaged, and then if you have to dip down. But
and the thing is,
he's so great.
I've learned over time that stuff is so far from so basic that it's like, just the idea of where am I looking.
I know. Once you do it long enough, and
it's like a side thing.
His classes are like $5.
I know.
Do you remember? He was like, for $5, just come, because he just loves, like,
he just enjoys it.
He donates
the money to the LGBT Center of Hollywood, right?
And he loves doing it, and he's so good at it. Oh,
right.
He was great on Grace and Frankie. Oh my God, he was so good on Grace and Frankie.
But he, after that, I started just kind of working all the time and things, and God knows what they were, but I started getting into like just researching what kind of, and I never knew how to do it correctly. And then I kind of fell off from it after all this experience. And I started going to the therapist. I kind of explained that to him. He goes, you should do it. You should get into it. So I grabbed $300 and I went down to the Transcendental Meditation Center of Hollywood and sat down in a room full of young, what's the word I'm looking for? Young,
hippies,
hip looking millennials, and learn to meditate. And that's also an interesting experience, because the more you do it, the more that you realize that your brain is just reacting all the time to stuff. Your body is just reacting to stuff. You'll be sitting there just doing the little mantra. You just repeat a mantra in your head, and suddenly then you're like, why am I holding so much tension in my shoulders? What the fuck is going on?
And like, from what I know, because Michael Aspinwall is really into TM.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And so he's the one who I learned the most. I think he spent a lot more than $300 though, because he was like, yeah, for $800. Like, I can't do that. He's like, they'll teach you an individual mantra that means almost nothing. Yeah. And instead of it being something that you repeat over and over and over and over again, you just repeat it just a few times to get you to dip down, he said. And so what I learned, because I've like so many celebrities are doing it now, where they're talking about it, like Oprah Winfrey's entire own network at 9 a.m. and at 4:30 p.m. No matter what's going on, they stop and they do 15 minutes of TM, and they've all been trained in it. All of her employees have. She goes, it makes for a better workplace. And I also think the difference between just regular meditation, which I find I almost always.
What is regular meditation? I don't even know.
So this is the way it's described to me. So imagine our brain is like the surface of the ocean, and there's waves, right? There's waves crashing and everything. In regular meditation, you just try to get it to quiet. You try to get the waves to stop. In Transcendental, you go all the way down to the bottom where it already is quiet. I was like, that's interesting. And so Michael Aspinwall would tell me stories where he goes, that's exactly what it feels like. And I can actually visualize myself falling deeper, 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 deeper into the ocean. And like he goes, and everything's cleared. And when I come out, he goes, I feel like I've had like hours of respite, and like he's rejuvenated.
Yeah. My thing is that when I get done with it, I am so exhausted. I can feel my exhaustion of my body.
Really?
Yeah. Because
that's my thing with meditation. It always makes me want to take a nap. I don't feel rejuvenated after I do it.
Well, maybe it's because, do you carry around a lot of anxiety?
Not really. I'm not an anxious person.
Do you carry around a lot of stress in your body?
Yes, that I do.
That stress, just the fact, imagine how much energy it takes to
hold
that thing and then when you release it, suddenly your body's like, oh, thank you. Look how tired you are from doing that.
That's interesting.
From carrying around this crap on your back this entire time.
Yeah, I heard a story. So I didn't even know this, but like a lot of celebrities have been doing it for decades. So like Eastwood has been doing it for 40 years. Seinfeld has been doing it for 40 years, TM specifically. Yeah. And Cameron Diaz shared a story where she was on set for some movie and she's like, I'm in a car and like I'm supposed to be having dialogue and I'm messing up line after line after line. And she goes, can you guys excuse me? I just need 5 minutes. And she got her meditation down to a science where she could go into her trailer, get, I don't know, like wherever you guys dip down to. And then she'd come back out and she goes, and I was flawless after that.
It takes, once you figure it out, it takes about 3 minutes to get down there.
Okay.
And then suddenly when you first start doing it, you're sitting there doing it and you're like, this is taking forever.
Yeah.
And then by the time you get really into it, it takes me 3 minutes to get to that point and then down to that point, and then you'll be there going, it's been 20 minutes already? Can I go for another 20?
Yeah.
And that's
what does it feel like to go down there? What does that mean to you when you say that?
It feels like
you're not sleeping.
No. Your body, you can feel your entire body relaxed.
Okay.
That's how it feels. Like, that's just it.
Okay.
You're completely out of your head and in your body, and your body is relaxed.
Dope. That's a great way to say
almost to the point of tingly.
Okay.
But not like, oh, my arm is numb, but just to the point of like, oh, this is so nice.
Okay.
Like being in a sauna that you just created with your own head.
Okay.
From that though, because of I never actually had those same experiences that I had with meditating.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was just like creating stuff around me. So right. I've actually recently been playing with. So we're going to go into conspiracy land.
Yeah, let's do it.
Back in 1983.
Great.
The CIA did a research topic on a thing called HemiSync, which was a military project to teach people how to become psychic.
Okay. so I did a thing called Mind Valley or something like that, and it was like how to be in your alpha brain.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
it's something very along with this, but
they study a lot.
These tapes were created back in like the 80s. So basically it's those binaural beats that go into your head but the way it's very interesting the way that they go into, like, because suddenly you can feel your brain shift. Suddenly you're like, oh. Like, it's almost like sickening sometimes the way that it feels. And you're supposed to take like a week per tape. And there's like, the entire program costs like $1,000 or something. If a clever YouTube search, you can find them for free. But I've been playing with that. And then I've been playing with, well, basically playing with the idea of manifesting.
Mm-hmm.
This is so stupid, but the other day I was looking around for a parking spot.
Right.
So I imagined a parking spot in a spot.
I do this every time. Yes.
Right? I'd already driven past the street, but I went back around and I'm like, I'm just going to create the parking spot that I want. So I just tried it.
Mm-hmm.
And I imagined the spot that it was at.
Mm-hmm.
And I drove around the block. There was a guy leaving, and I pulled the exact spot that I was just thinking about. And I was like, there, that's how that works.
I can make stuff like that happen like crazy as long as my energy is not out of need, but out of like almost like childlike curiosity. Yeah. Like, oh, I think, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to make that spot up here. And then it does. If it's ever like, but I need this spot and I need it the universe is like, bitch, you're not getting a spot.
So the other thing I've been playing with this is also... You ever heard of the Silva Mind technique?
This is the one
Silva Mind?
This is Mind Valley, Silva Mind.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yes. That's what I was just talking about.
So this thing...
That does not work for me. I tried it so many times.
Well,
it drives me nuts.
They always play with like these different induction methods or whatever it is that you go down.
Yeah.
But...
Unless they want to sponsor, then I love it so much.
Then we're big fans of
huge
Mind
fan
Valley.
of the Silva method.
The guy that explains it on YouTube is genius, right?
He's great. I signed up for it for like 3 months because I believed in it, and then I started doing it. I was like, "Is this too highbrow for me? Why am I not getting it?"
Well, the real trick is being able to relax your brain down to a point where you can just imagine,
right?
And then you imagine the things that you want to happen in your life, and that's it.
Yeah.
And in a way, whether you believe in spirituality or not, you're either reminding yourself that you already have these things, or if you do believe in spirituality, it's basically saying, oh yeah, you're telling the universe what you want and you're getting it.
Right.
Right. So either way, I guess maybe who knows if it works or how it works, but I do it because
I believe in manifesting and all that stuff. And I believe in I had one guru guy and he goes, let's go around and share what you think you want this year. And somebody was like, I want to be on a stage holding an award. And I want me holding up a finished script. And I was like, all right, this is what I want to do. I want to be in a white Mercedes-Benz pulling up to Studio 10 in Burbank. And as I'm pulling in, I talk to Charlie. He's the guy at the front door. Okay. He's going to hand me my pass to get in. I'm going to hand him his favorite latte because we're close. I'm going to ask him how the wife and kid are. They're great because I gave Johnny a tricycle last year. Anyway, I'm going to go in I'm the showrunner. So they're going to hand me my schedule for the day. I'm going to give a coffee to my assistant because she's a sweetheart and she does not do lactose. Then I'm going to get this is how I manifest, right? So I get very detailed and he's like, you don't have to worry about it. Now, has any of that stuff happened? No. But I do think I can manifest a lot of different things. But I think there is some point where the universe goes, that's a great plan. That's not for you.
Well, yeah. Yeah,
Depends.
but also you have to think about it as in there's too many
Unless
variables.
Yeah.
What if there was, the universe, I don't think the universe is like, here's the white Mercedes that you're going to be pulling in with.
Correct.
There you go. Okay, so on your timeline, there's a red BMW. Does that work?
Yeah. They're like, you're going to like Charlie. It's not going to be at Studio 10, but it's going to be at this other thing.
But his name will be Charlie.
Yeah. Yeah. And you won't be a showrunner, but you will be, I don't know, a successful stand-up comedian or something on your way to do that.
That's how I think it.
Yeah.
It kind of
I still think
better.
it all happens, and I do have such passion for it, and I love doing it anyway. I love sitting there and imagining every fucking detail.
Yeah,
It's my favorite thing.
I think that's the reason why I walk out in the street of LA and there's all these maniacs driving around like idiots screaming at each other constantly, and all I can think of is just, where are you going?
Yeah. What's the hurry?
And why, cool Ferrari, but you can't, who are you driving that for?
Yeah.
You or everybody else?
Yeah. To be clear, I don't want a white Mercedes anymore.
I'll take a Ferrari.
Yeah. I knew somebody owned a Mercedes and they go, I got an oil change and a filter change and it was $1,400. And I was like, good night. Go fuck yourself. I'll take my Nissan.
You just take it to Jiffy Lube.
Yeah, take it to the Jiff. Okay, so after all that, because we're going to wrap up. So after all that.
Oh, yeah, we have a time limit on this.
Transcendental meditation and talk therapy. What is your relationship like with your father today?
He died.
So, well.
I was there, it was 10 years ago, 11 years ago. Mm-hmm. He died of lung cancer that, lung cancer spreads everywhere, apparently. I was there when he died. That was a bittersweet.
Yeah. How was the the last few years of your relationship with him?
Awful.
Yeah.
It just was not good.
Ugh.
Mainly because he became more stuck in the fact that I would never do that.
Yeah.
And that was, I wouldn't give him the benefit of the doubt about that.
Right.
Like, just say you did.
Yeah.
You know, just
and we'll move on. Just say it.
Just
have
say
accountability.
Have accountability for yourself.
Yeah.
Do it. And yeah, that was, yeah.
How's your relationship with your mom?
Great. My mom's the best.
Yeah. I met her.
That's right.
Yeah. She's come to town. I met her.
I took her to one of your stand-up shows.
Oh, no.
Do you
That's
remember
right.
that?
Yeah. That's when I was really raunchy, too.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
I took her to dinner.
I'm
took Mom to dinner
sorry, Paul's mom.
at the restaurant, and then listened to Nicole talk about vaginas for an hour.
That's accurate. All my
Yeah.
material was about blowjobs and vaginas back then. So what are you going to do?
It
And I
goes.
used to wear flannels and then fedoras and quirky glasses. I've come a long way. So, okay, through all that, how are you feeling now? Are you feeling fairly healed from some of that? Mostly still in process?
I mean, from that, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right now, I pretty much spend all of my time just working on my acting.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Great.
That's all I want to do.
Great.
And I do it just a little bit every day. I have an amazing acting teacher that knows exactly what little things that we need to work on.
Mm-hmm.
He pushes me in every single way that you
Oh,
can.
I love that when you get
As
a
in,
good
like,
one.
As in, like, this week you're going to do a 12-page scene from insert name of,
Right.
Neil LaBute play here. Like every week here's just a little bit more.
Push.
And also, you're not even, this scene is all, what was the word I'm looking for? I can't even think of it.
Subliminal?
Yeah, subliminal. Yeah. Your stakes, you're not even talking about what, just these little things.
Yeah. You're using substitution.
Yeah. And you don't even realize that those little things that build up, it's like, he always compares it to, you're like Michael Jordan or Kobe. Every day you go out and practice a little bit. Well, in their cases all the time, but to get prepared, and you're building just a little bit of those blocks every day.
Yeah.
Because now I don't know what it is that I honestly, I have like my own little process. It's like every audition I get, I either get it or I'm unavailable for it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't even try to get the part.
Yeah.
I just enjoy telling the story. I think that's probably the best part of that.
That's probably what's translating on camera though too. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Because there's not like, I need to book this. It's
I
like,
need
I'm
the
having
part.
fun doing it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So after all that, what's the funniest lesson you learned?
God. I really just don't give a fuck about anything anymore. I really don't give a fuck about stuff. I don't know if that's funny. I don't know.
You'd be surprised how many people end up saying that at the end. They're like, I just don't give a shit about what people think anymore.
Really?
Or what people, yeah.
You just don't like, I don't know.
Yeah.
The funniest story, like lesson about, I don't know. Man, I feel like I just failed the whole Do you want to start the podcast over? We can start.
Shut up.
Just write me some notes about what we were talking
Funniest
about.
lesson. Let's see. What would it be? The funniest lesson you learned would be, don't throw a barrel of hay at your dad's girlfriend.
Don't react with frustration at maniacs.
Yeah. Because they're maniacs. There you go.
Because they're maniacs.
good.
Is that funny? That's not funny.
We can make it funny.
Go.
I'm trying to think.
Improv scene. Start. We're both maniacs.
We're also like transcendental meditation. So it's like, I don't know, if the world's crumbling around you, just check out. I don't know.
Is that
I don't know.
necessarily
It's
the
not
healthiest
funny.
thing to do?
No.
Like, just ignore.
I'm so afraid of transcendental. I'll just sleep. I'll just want to sleep.
I
all
feel
the
like
time.
I do that as well. But
Yeah.
no, I observe people much more now.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, this is interesting. I don't know if this ever happens to you, but do you find that people just hate you for being you?
Once I started this podcast, a lot more. Yes.
Are you serious?
Yeah. No, I'm kidding. But can you imagine? No. Yeah. Once you become like any type of public figure, and not that I am remotely famous at any level, like the comments on YouTube for any stand up or anything I do, it's like, wow, you don't even know me.
Maybe that's the lesson of all of this, is that it's like the more successful you become, the more hate you're going to attract, the more evil from the people that are not putting in the work.
They're not even stepping in the arena, dude. I cannot take criticism from somebody who's never done, who has like 0 followers and they're a bot on it. I can't do it.
Like, I've noticed people that are like, well, I'm more talented than them. And it's like, okay, but great, you're more talented, but are you doing any of the work to do it?
No. Because if they were doing the work, they'd be too busy to write anything online.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's what it is. Anything? Oh, where can people follow you? Find you?
Just the Instagrams. Just my name, Paul Chirico.
How do you spell Chirico?
Chirico.
Yeah.
You can watch me on.
There you go.
Gaslit on Stars, 1923. Play a guy that gets shot on FBI. Hacks.
Oh yeah, Hacks.
That's gonna be the one.
Also, the fact that you're in a show called Gaslit, hilarious. That is hilarious.
But yeah, keep an eye out for the next season of Hacks, the next season of the morning show, and the Blackhamptons and the family business.
I like that you got in the Blackhamptons.
Oh yeah, I'm there.
Yes.
I got to do, just a quick side note, I got to do a scene last week with Ernie Hudson.
Nuh-uh.
Yeah, and I was like, I can't believe I'm standing here right now rehearsing a bit that I thought of with somebody that I have an action figure of. Anyway.
Oh God. Did you get a picture with him?
No, I didn't. I was too nervous to ask.
That's how I was with Bill Hader. I was like, no, it's fine. This scene's going to look great. And then they cut the scene.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Right. Guys, if you like this episode as much as I did, don't forget to follow me on all the social media platforms at Nicole Birch Comedy, or you can watch this on YouTube at Nicole E. Birch. And as always, find us wherever you find your podcasts. Have a good day.